Hi guys, thank you so much for joining me today. So the year is coming to an end and I wanted to finish off by giving away another little freebie, a real-time color mixing and painting demonstration for one of my water droplet pieces. This was actually the very first video that was up on my website when I was running my website blog, and now I'm posting these types of videos to my Patreon page. So to see more videos like that and upcoming future videos for new paintings, that's all going to be available there. This has been an awesome year personally for me. I know there's been a lot of crappy things going on politically in the world, in our country, but in my life personally, I think this was a good year for me. And I also want to thank you guys so much for supporting my art and watching my videos. It really means the world to me that there are people out there who are interested in my creations and interested in joining me along this art journey. I hope you enjoy watching my channel as much as I enjoy creating videos for you all. I can't wait for 2017 and everything I have in store for you. I'm so excited for new paintings and to grow as an artist with you all. So I wish you all a happy new year. I'm wishing you tons of inspiration for the new year. Thank you so much for watching, and without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy this real-time video.
So there's my reference. I'm currently mixing in some Payne's Gray, ultramarine blue to get this color right here. And these are like the basic tones I'm establishing. They're actually going to change later on, probably. I'm going to add in a few other colors here and there. Next we have this green here, so I'm just taking some titanium white. There's also titanium white in there as well. Some cobalt blue, a little bit of sap green, and then it gets a little darker around here, so I'm just going to create a darker version of this color by adding in some more Payne's Gray. There's a teeny bit of titanium white in there, some more ultramarine blue, a bit more Payne's Gray. I'm going to throw in some cobalt blue as well. Right, one more color. You have this lighter area here, so I'm just taking titanium white, throw some paint thinner in there, titanium white, Payne's Gray, and this grayish color looks to be about enough, but we're going to add a teeny bit of ultramarine blue, more titanium white. Okay, so this is my base and what I'm starting with. We're going to go ahead, get to painting. Starting off with taking some titanium white. I have a little bit of Gamsol here, which I'm just going to use to distort some of the paint. Not distort, dilute. So, base color, just applying it to the top. I'm laying down the basic shapes, so wherever I see these colors that I just mixed, I'm not worrying about the droplet details right now. I'm just laying down the basic shapes. Also, I said earlier there was sap green in this. It's actually this color right here, chromium oxide green, not sap green. So the two colors I mixed in there are cobalt green and chromium oxide green. So yeah, my bad, my error. I'm also going to take some Galkyd, which is an alkyd resin medium, and it's going to speed up the dry time, it's going to improve the flow of the paint, level the brush strokes to make them really smooth and flat so that we don't have like an impasto effect. I like my strokes to be smooth nowadays. So I'm going to just pour that into a little dish like that one right there and continually mix that into my paint. I only really need just a little bit, not a lot. like that much. It's going to be plenty. And so what I do is I gradually add in a little bit into my palette as I'm mixing. And it just makes the brush strokes really smooth. And it's also going to speed up the drying time, so less waiting, which is fantastic in my opinion. So since this area is looking a little bit more gray than I intended, I'm just bringing in a bit more titanium white straight from the palette, mixing it on the painting. And since we have a burnt sienna undertone, we can immediately start working with white. If you had a blank canvas, you would have to start working with the dark tones, but sometimes I like to start with light tones. And since we have all these blue tones in this painting, it serves as a complementary color, and it's going to make those colors stand out a lot more. So I set the white brush down, and I'm going to come back to it later. I'm now going to work with the green tones, or sorry, the blue tones. Shall I say the gray tones? Just add in a teeny bit more of ultramarine blue in there. And so I'm just eyeballing where those colors are on my reference and placing them accordingly onto the canvas. The panel! My goodness. I'm not used to narrating what I'm doing, so pardon my terminology is all messed up. To add to the effect of the blur, you also have to pay attention to these transitional colors in the blur, which you do need a reference for. You'll notice that as it fades from white to the darker grayish blues, there's a slightly bluer region here in the center, which is very blurred. So you just have to make sure you notice that kind of thing. As you're blending, we're going to focus that. We're going to add that in a little bit. But for now, I'm just trying to get these basic shapes down. Okay, now I'm going to take my green brush, set my dark one aside, add in a little bit more Gal Kid. And lay down the greens. And I am touching the slightly upper darker part, and it does slightly go into my green, which is fine. Again, this is the base layer. I'm not too worried about getting things perfect. Just trying to lay down some shapes. That's all we're really worrying about right now. There's a little bit of green up there in the reference, so I'm just adding that in. Took a little bit of my grayish mixture to create this line, because this was a picture of a car window on a road. Alright, now I'm going to go back to my gray brush because there's a road down there and it's slightly grayer. So I'm just going to take that earlier mixture I made, maybe add in a bit more Payne's gray, and bring in that color. And again, this is a road, so there's like a slightly lighter line. So I'm going to attempt to draw that, paint that. Again, it's not perfect, it doesn't have to be, don't freak out. Bring in some more Payne's gray, and there's a little bit of green actually in that part of the road, so I'm just going to bring in some cobalt green with the Payne's gray and the titanium white, and just apply it here. Okay. Now we still have this orange space here, which is going to be a bit of a blend between the color I used here and the titanium white and Payne's gray mixture up there. But it's just going to be slightly bluer. So this would ideally be the color we want. However, I'm going to add in a bit cobalt blue and some cobalt green. Because if you zoom in onto the reference, you'll notice that it's not exactly completely blue. It's slightly, you can see there's, you can mix some green into there. Don't know how to explain what I'm seeing, so I'm just going to have to show you guys the reference itself up close. Okay. And again, it's not going to be perfect, and it's fine if it mixes in with some of that white. We're actually going to go back in and blend that color out more. But I'm just laying down the shape of this lighter blue. And mind you, this is all blurred, so it's okay. You don't have to get it all perfectly nice and detailed. You're just painting these blurry trees.
So this is from the YouTube footage. I'm just showing you some slower down clips of it. I like to start painting droplets with the dark parts of it, and I'm using those same colors on my palette that I mixed earlier. Basically, with droplets, they tend to be inverted. So if you have a dark space on the bottom, like as you can see more of the darker parts of this painting, of this scenery, like the blurred out trees and the greens, like all of that is going to be on top, and the whiter parts are going to be on the bottom. And the other thing is, with glass, based on where the droplets are positioned, that's what colors are going to be. So if there's droplets over the green part of the glass, they're going to have those inverted, distorted green colors in them, whereas towards the top of the painting, it's just the titanium white and dark Payne's gray mixture. So basically, whatever a droplet is over, as far as scenery goes, that is what it's going to distort. And as you can see a little bit further down, I'm about to paint some more of the green stuff. And this does take a while, so although my painting process is smooth and effortless on YouTube, it takes a while. As you can see, I'm constantly dipping my brush down into paint or medium. It definitely takes me forever, and that's why I tend to focus on smaller panels for a lot of my videos, because it's faster to make a video. Because large paintings, they're very time consuming. You know, I've spent like months before on certain paintings, and it definitely takes forever just to fill in all those details. So again, work with a reference, because that'll be your best bet for getting things accurate, for getting the most realistic detail. And personally, I don't want to make it exactly like the reference. I try to get it as close as I can, but I like to leave that painty element to it, the aspect of where you can see it's still a painting, it's not a photograph. If you look up close to it, really, really close, you can see this is not a photograph. This is definitely a painting. So let's say if I were to have a completely slow down video of me painting, how many hours would it be? Well, personally, I think it would be extremely boring to watch without a voiceover. As you can see, it's a very slow, very precise process, and I think it would take, depending on the painting, it'd probably be anywhere from 4 hours to 70 hours long, and the most my computer can handle is processing a 30-minute video at most with minimal editing. So if I keep the footage original, I don't do any color graphing, it's going to be about 30 minutes. So yeah, that's the most my computer can handle. I have an older computer. It's about 6 years old. So, okay, yeah, bringing in the lighter tones now, you can see it's inverted. So if you ever pay attention to what a magnifying glass does, like if you shine it through, like if you shine sunlight through a magnifying glass and you look at what happens, it's going to shine a circle of brighter, more concentrated light. And droplets function in a similar way. It's like a little natural lens. It's going to concentrate more of the highlights and shadows. And because they're in such a small space, because it takes the surrounding scenery, it puts it all into one little droplet and then distorts it, those colors are going to be a little bit more concentrated. It's very weird how that works, but it does.
So it's the next day. The painting is mostly dry to the touch, but I'm still going to work on it. And it's 2 layers if you don't count the burnt sienna undertone. Technically, it's already 3. So what I did is I brought in a tiny bit of dioxazine purple, which is this color right here, and I'm using it to paint these little blurs, these lighter blurs in this area. If you look at the reference, you can kind of tell there's just a little bit of a purple tone to it. So that's what we're painting right now. And I'm still using the same base colors. I'm just really polishing up the details on the droplets in the surrounding areas. There's really no concrete method to knowing where to put everything unless you use a grid. I didn't use a grid for this painting because it's relatively small, so placement was a little easier for me to establish. But if you struggle with knowing where to put things, definitely use a grid. So yeah, basically my palette's been cleaned up. I'm going to mix those same colors that I did in the beginning and start polishing up all these details and blending. So this color right here is titanium white, Payne's green, dioxazine purple, and a little bit of ultramarine blue. And that's going to be going in these areas right here. I'm not trying to make it perfect, like perfectly exact to the reference. I'm not even going for hyperrealism. I'm just using it as a guide to know where to put things. And normally I have a camera sitting up here, which I've been filming this whole piece. I'm just not filming this tiny little blend of detail because my battery is charging over there. So you get to see a part of the painting that's not even going to be on YouTube. And a background explanation of my reasoning and why I'm choosing what colors, how I know where to put them, all the wonderful nitty-gritty details. I hope it's helpful to you guys. Ooh, it's a little blurry. Okay. Yeah, so that's just the reality of the process. I'm sitting here quietly. I mean, usually I have music playing, but because I am filming background narration right now, keeping it pretty quiet. So this highlight area has a bit of a green tone to it. So I'm adding in some cobalt green with titanium white, and that should give us the tone we're looking for. Adding in some Galkid there to dilute the paint. This is all dried up stuff, by the way. There's like a thin layer of Galkid in here that doesn't have wet paint in it. Except that little white part there. But all of that's like a dried layer underneath, so just kind of pile on top of it as I work. Oh, there's a hair in there. Let's move that. Yep, and I just go over it. Ooh, couldn't see that there. And in the grand scheme of things, like as I'm filming, these are the little details that you can't see on camera. It's really hard to capture these very subtle color gradients that I'm painting. Like this transitional gradient here with the blur, it's going to have more green in it. That's really hard to capture on camera. I don't even know if I'm capturing it on my phone. It is an HD camera, but still, it's hard to film. You only figure that out once you start filming all the time. Then you're, if you're filming paintings, and then you're like, oh, how do I show this? And so a lot of times these parts get cut out, and nobody knows what's really going on. And of course all these gradients are also evident in the water droplets. It's all the same colors in the droplets, it's just flipped and distorted. And the best way to get used to painting them is to have a reference. It just is. It's just what you gotta do. There's nothing wrong with that. There's a common misconception that having a reference means you're not a real artist, or if you're not painting from imagination, it's not real art, and that is all just complete BS. The masters used references. Some of them, like Rembrandt, was actually rumored to have used camera obscuras and like all these different devices. They even traced through glass. Like, it's really just the illusion of what real art is. Real art is just an invented concept. You have to do what is best for you to get to where you need to be, which is the final painting, and it doesn't matter how you get there. I used to feel crappy towards people who traced. I don't even care anymore, because the truth is, you can't make something look real even if you trace, if you don't have the skills. Like, if you don't know where to anchor your vision to paint all these shadow gradients, like, you won't know how to make it real, even if you do trace. It's just not going to work, so if you don't have a trained eye. So that's why I don't even care or feel bitterly towards people who trace. Granted, I don't. It's not what I want to do for my work. I tend to stick to grids, or I freehand it, and I suffer through the process. But some people, they want to trace, and who cares, you know? Who cares? I don't care. Don't worry about what other people are doing. Just focus on your own work. And if you want to trace, hey, that's your personal choice. You know, there's a stigma towards it. Some people might talk crap about it, but who cares about those people? Because I don't care about those people. Wow, I'm ranting. Okay, so I'm starting to see here that the ultramarine blue isn't exactly the brighter blue that I need. So I'm going to clean off my brush, and I'm going to bring in some cobalt blue. It's a bit brighter. And we're going to create a mixture with green, cobalt green, and see if that gives me more of the color I need for these blurry gradients that I'm trying to paint here. And so far, I think it's effective. If not, I'm going to need a brighter green. But yeah, that's much closer to what I need, actually. Could have used less titanium white, but that's okay. Yeah, so I'm just using that mixture to paint the transition fade between the lighter parts and the blurry trees, and this dark Payne's Gray Ultramarine Blue prior mixture.
And towards the end here, I'm pretty much just polishing up the details. Whatever I feel like needs to be touched up, I fix it and continually keep going until I either can't go anymore, or I'm bored, or it just looks finished to me and I'm satisfied. So yeah, that's basically it. And this is the final painting with the wonderful glossy varnish that I use from Gamblin called Gamvar. This particular varnish, you don't have to wait 6 months. It allows the painting to continue breathing, so you can use it once it's dry to the touch, and it's not going to seal it off from air. So yeah, I hope this has been interesting for you guys. You get to see a much slower version of the process, how it all comes together, and my weird brain's thought process as it's all happening. I hope you all have a great day. Thanks for watching and supporting my work. It means the world to me.